Okay, so something that you may not be aware of is, in fact you will be aware of it, because if you weren't aware of it before and you'll have seen the title to this video, is that Laughing Witch has made an apology, and she's made an apology to Thunderf00t for the whole shitstorm that she's caused recently. So look, what I want to do is, first thing you need to do, if you haven't seen the apology, you see the apology. I could link you to the apology, but I tell you what I'll do, I'll include it at the end of this video. It is a 90-second apology, so if you go 1.5 minutes from whatever the running time is on this video, you can watch that apology, schmology. You can watch that apology first and then come back here and we can start discussing it. Okay, so I'm going to assume that you've done that. Something else. Let's see if we can just get a little bit of sunlight. A little bit of sunlight back on the internet. Somebody called Captain Mickle has commented on this. Not specifically on the apology, but on the whole fucking shitstorm. I think it's an excellent video. I think he's a really, really great YouTuber. And it would be a little ray of sunshine if he got a few more subscribers. So I'll put you a link to his video. If at the end of this video you went and had a look at his video and perhaps subscribed to his channel, that would be a little bit of positivity, I think. So what I want to do in this video, let me give you a too long, Jim, you're a right fucking boring bastard, I'm not listening to you go through all this longhand version, okay, is that I intend to commend the video to you. I'm accepting the apology and I'm going to outline why I think you should accept the apology as well. That's what this video is about. What I ought to do first is just give you a quick run through, bring you up to speed in case you don't know what all this is about. So that's what I'm going to do first. And I'm going to talk very, very fast, okay, because I just want to get this little bit out of the way, okay. So let's think, how does this go? Okay, there's a thing called video games, which you may have heard of, and there's somebody called Anita Sarkeesian, and she doesn't like the way that video games manufacturers makes games. They include things that she regards as problematic, things that she really doesn't want to see in video games, so she has made a whole slew of videos criticising the way that video games are made and the content therein. Thunderf00t disagrees with her. He disagrees with some of the arguments that she makes, and he also disagrees with the way that she carries out her affairs. So he has made a whole slew of videos criticising Anita Sarkeesian. Then this person called Laughing Witch, she doesn't like the fact that Thunderf00t has made these videos criticising Anita Sarkeesian. She regards it as tantamount to harassment. So what she did as a result of that is to contact Thunderf00t's employers and tell them that he is a Nazi. I know it's a little bit head scratcher there, but that is what she did. But not only did she do that, but in concert with somebody called Bewildered Ape, he wrote a letter as well, but she also embarked on a letter writing campaign. You can understand why. The more people that write the same thing, the more genuine it looks. So they all worked in concert with one another, writing to Thunderf00t's employer to tell the employer that he's a Nazi. Not to get him sacked, obviously, but they wrote these letters to Thunderf00t's employer. Now, I've got to say, little bit of an aside here, Bewildered Ape, what a fucking cunt that guy is. He said at the time when he wrote his letter, part of his defence was, apart from the fact that he said, this is performance art. Fucking hell, you've just written to somebody's employer to try and get them sacked. But he said, oh, as if they're going to take it seriously. I signed it Bewildered Ape. He knew full well, I didn't know at the time, but he knew full well that other people were writing letters using their real name. Right, so what a cunt he is. What a disingenuous prick Bewildered Ape is. Okay, enough said about Bewildered Ape. So bringing it forward then. Thunderf00t understandably took exception to this. I know I would if somebody wrote to my employer and said, Noel Plum is a Nazi. What do you think about that? What are you going to do about that? I wouldn't be too happy about that. So he took a little bit of revenge, you could say. Then he made a video about it, and what he decided to do is to document what had happened. He also linked her business and the Yelp site that they're featured on, where you can leave reviews. But obviously what he didn't want people to do is leave negative reviews on the back of it, because that's the kind of thing he doesn't like. So he made absolutely certain that that wouldn't happen by telling everybody who's watching the video, whatever you do, don't leave negative reviews on this page. And so, of course, as a result, quite a number of negative reviews were left. So that's kind of where the situation is at, and that has severely impacted on their business. It has hurt Laughing Witch. It has also hurt her husband and the dozen or so people that they employ. And I propose that that is what has motivated her into action and made her make this apology video. So that kind of gets you up to speed now. Now, she tried to get in touch with Thunderf00t used Kevin Logan as an intermediary. Kevin Logan as an intermediary. Why she chose Kevin Logan. This video is an opinion piece, by the way. So while we're talking about Kevin Logan, let me give you my opinion on Kevin Logan. He's an absolute fucking prick. She chose Kevin Logan. Kevin Logan approached Thunderf00t and said, if Laughing Witch made an apology, would you accept it? Well, I kind of understand why Thunderf00t didn't accept it. Bit daft to accept an apology before you even know what the apology sounds like. After all, if at that point you say, oh, of course I'll accept the apology, you're going to get the most mealy-mouthed apology you've ever fucking heard at that point, aren't you? You need to know the structure and the form of the apology and what is being apologised for before you decide to accept or reject it. With Thunderf00t on that one, what I find is regrettable is that at his pompous best, he announced that it's not me you need to apologise to, you need to apologise to the internet. Which, okay, so it's pompous, hyperbolic bullshit, and you either love him for that or you hate him for that. The problem is that it makes it very, very difficult to draw a line under it. You haven't got that central authority there, which, and he knows what I mean, right, because he doesn't like Islam very much, and I share some of his concerns over Islam, and one of those concerns is that there's no central authority in Islam. Of course, that's part of the problem when it comes to reforming Islam. It's part of the problem that Christianity didn't have, because of course there was the office of the Pope, and thereby you can make a decree, and that trickles down through the structure, and people have to take account of that. The same structure doesn't occur in Islam, and that makes it a little bit more of a problem when it comes to reforming Islam, is that there isn't that central structure. There isn't that central authority. Kind of in this thing, there was that central authority. If somebody has been slighted, okay, if something terrible has happened to somebody and they say, do you know what, I'm prepared to accept the apology that's been made for it, it's very difficult for a third party to say, well, you've accepted the apology for it and you're the one that's been wronged, but I'm not accepting the apology. But effectively what is done by batting it back and saying, oh, it's not for me to accept or reject the apology. It's made it very, very difficult to draw a line on it, because it means everybody just decides for themselves. And let's be honest, you could drown Laughing Witch in the lake, or you could burn her at the fucking stake, which is the kind of thing that is appropriate with a witch, of course, historically. And that still wouldn't be enough for some people. So there's really is perhaps no way to draw a line under all of this other than just with the passing of time. Now, I find that regrettable. I wish he hadn't done that. A little bit of criticism for Thunderf00t there, which means that will dominate the comments, regardless of anything else that I say in this video. So that is why, by the way, that I am accepting the apology, right? Or why I feel enabled to accept or reject the apology, because now, apparently, that is where we're at. We all have to accept or reject the apology. What it does mean is that the apology will not be as well disseminated as all the rest of the shitstorm has been, which is kind of a shame. It reminds you of a tabloid newspaper, that, doesn't it? You know, man fucks 10 kids, front page, and then the next week, oh, we kind of got that wrong, man doesn't fuck 10 kids, and it's kind of on page 8 in some little column there. It's a little bit like that. The apology will not be as widely disseminated as the rest of it. But that's the kind of problem. Let's be honest, people did say to Laughing Witch along the way, you know, you really need to realise the kind of shit that you're getting involved in when you embark on things such as a shitty letter writing campaign like that. So, what I'm going to do is tell you why I accept the letter and why I regard that everybody should accept the letter. This is what I'm suggesting, even if you don't, even if you have some reservations. Now, I'm hoping by now you've had a listen to what she has to say. I have my reservations. Let me say that. For a start, she didn't retract the accusation that he's a Nazi. I really don't see any grounding for this claim that he's a Nazi. It's kind of, if you're going to make a claim like that, then the fucking gloves are off, aren't they? And it's one thing making the claim online and saying, I think you're a fucking Nazi, but I think you need a slightly higher standard of evidence before you approach somebody's employer in writing and tell them that you think their employee is a Nazi. She also says in her apology video that she didn't mean to get him fired, which I don't know whether what she means by that is, it's like if I smashed you in the face and I'm thinking maybe I'll break your nose, maybe I'll knock you unconscious, I can kind of claim that I wasn't trying to break your nose and I wasn't trying to make you unconscious. I just wanted one of a basket of bad things to happen to you, and it was none of those bad things in particular. I don't know about that. What I do know is she followed it up with another video crowing and scoffing and gloating by the fact that he didn't seem to be working there anymore, and she thinks that it was her action that probably got him fired, and she felt really good about that. That really doesn't sit with saying that she didn't want to get him fired. So yes, I have some problems, but in the main the apology is pretty upfront, and look, she's obviously somebody with a fair amount of pride, and in those terms it can't have been that easy to make that apology. Never easy to swallow your pride and make an apology like that. And I know Zenistrad mirrored this. This is where I first saw the apology. Zenistrad mirrored it, and there was a number of people in there saying, well, I reject the apology on the grounds that I don't think she's sincere. I don't think she really, she's really changed her mind. And you know what? I agree with that. I think she's probably not sincere. All the logical, rational arguments had already been made, and she hadn't changed her position. So I don't suddenly think those logical, rational arguments are appealing to any more than they are now. It's circumstance rather than argument that's made the difference here. But do you know what? I'm prepared to accept that. And part of why I'm prepared to accept that, in my life, I have received hundreds of apologies. I've probably made hundreds of apologies as well, but I've received hundreds of apologies in my life. And I've received hundreds of apologies that I've been sceptical of, that I've thought, do you know what, I think this person is apologising just to end the situation rather than because they genuinely feel that what they did was wrong, or that they're the one that's in the wrong in the main, or whatever. And I've accepted those apologies. And what I can tell you is, if I hadn't accepted those apologies, I would be the worse for it. My life would be the worse for it. And their lives would be the worse for it. That a lot of the time in life, we accept apologies, even though we know that the person probably still doesn't quite feel that they were wrong, that they still feel justified in what they did, but because of circumstances, they make the apology anyway. And what a circumstance she must find herself in. What I've got to say is, if I'd done something fucking ridiculous and odious on the internet, and I'd brought a ton of shit on myself, and I'd put my livelihood in jeopardy, probably the hardest thing that I would have to do would be to come home to my wife and to tell her the situation that I'd brought upon us, that I had put our livelihoods in jeopardy. That would be a really fucking difficult thing to have to do, I think. And that is something that she has obviously had to do with her husband, but not only with her husband, they employ 12, 13, 14 other people. She has put their livelihoods in jeopardy as a result of the letter she wrote, but also as a result of the gloating and goading and prodding that she did afterwards. And that's a difficult thing to face up to people and say, they're not going to be happy. Those employers, let's be honest, that must have been a really fucking difficult encounter that she's had there. And I'm sure that is still ongoing. Right. So on those grounds, I would like to see this end. I think she's probably suffered enough there. And the relevance of that as well is that the one bit of the apology that I'm sure she is sincere on is when she says that's her done. She's not going to come back to YouTube, and she's not going to get involved in these arguments online again. I believe that. She's the 1000th fucking person that I've heard say that on YouTube, and most of them come back. But she's not just acting on her own here. If she was a lone wolf, I'd think, yeah, she'll be back in 6 months. But the fact is, I think she'd be fucking lynched by, if not by her husband, by her employees. If she came back in a few months' time and started cranking all this out again, I think they'd fucking lynch her, quite honestly, for putting them in jeopardy yet again. So if somebody wants to apologise, if somebody apologises and is then leaving this whole discussion behind, fucking hell, if you're not going to accept an apology, then when are you going to accept an apology? I think we ought to give people the right to leave these discussions behind. If it's all blown up in their face, they've had a little bit of suffering, at least a little bit of suffering on the back of it. Fucking hell, we ought to at least allow them to walk away from that. And even if that isn't enough, perhaps the biggest thing is those employees, right? If you won't accept it on her behalf, then accept it on behalf of her employees, because not accepting it means that it will continue to impact upon the people that her husband employs, and they're not guilty, you know. And she called Thunderf00t a Nazi, so let's make a bit of a fucking Nazi analogy here, which is at the end of the Second World War, Hitler topped himself. He committed suicide, quite understandably, really. He didn't want to get caught because they'd have fucking hell. You can understand why he did that. And the people that took over power there, that took over the reins of command, immediately surrendered. Unconditional surrender. Did the Allies think at that time, oh, well, they've obviously had a change of heart. They obviously realised, those people at the top of the command structure there, obviously realised that what they did was wrong all along. No. But we accepted the surrender because to continue firebombing fucking Dresden and places like that and slaughtering, killing millions of Germans or millions more Germans because we don't think the surrender is genuine would be an awful thing to do. So even if, whatever you think about whether the apology is genuine, not accepting the apology and keeping it going when it's been made will impact on all these other people. And on that ground alone, I think that the apology ought to be accepted, even if none of the other grounds touch your heart. Surely that one has to. That works for me, at least. Look, I can't tell anybody what to think about this. It's a shame, right? Thunderf00t is not prepared to accept or even reject the apology. He's not even prepared to reject it and say, but I would accept it if you added did it. He's not even prepared to do that. I accept the apology and I commend it to everybody else. It's for everybody else to make their own decision. And so I'm going to leave you with that one and just make up your own minds. I'll be interested to know what you think about it in the comments. But please mirror her video. At least let people know that the apology has been made. Okay, well, thank you for watching. Bye for now.
Hey YouTube, it's Laughing Witch. I'm going to do another video. This is my last video. I'm going to do an apology video to Thunderf00t, Dr. Mason, and I'm going to do it because I really am sorry. I've made a lot of trouble for people I care about. I never meant to get you fired. I just wanted you to stop making all these videos about this woman, Sarkeesian, because she was getting so much harassment. I did want to mention that I did offer to apologize to you through Kevin Logan as my emissary twice, and you would not hear of it. But I'm going to do it anyway, because I think, basically, I need to do that. I need to show everybody that I'm sorry for what I did. It was a dumb idea. I shouldn't have done it, and it's affected the people that I care about tremendously. But I've closed my YouTube channel. I've got this channel here just to apologize. And I'm not going to be coming back and making YouTube videos. I'm just going to stay out of it. I wish that everybody would stop the docs dropping. This doesn't have to be an all-out war. We can all step back. And I hope with this apology, you'll consider calling off your fanboys and let things go back to normal. And I hope you live a long and happy life. And with that, you will not be seeing me in the comment section of each other's videos.